Right, today we continue with our study of SD 2.19, that is the Aganya Sutta, the discourse on the foremost. We finished the first half in the previous study. This is the concluding half. Okay? I know some of you have been asking about this, waiting to listen to the concluding part. Huh? Well, the good news, or should I say the bad news, is that the most interesting part has already been finished. Or the evolution of the world. I mean, it's amazing. We have someone living 2,500 years ago telling a story that sounds like a modern scientific account of the universe. How the universe first was totally dark, and then things started solidifying, and then there are waters over the universe, and then these beings start evolving from being kind of disembodied, invisible, becoming more and more solid. And then slowly they began to have bodily features. And then their body began to be differentiated, male and female and so on. And then they started having relationships with one another. They started collecting food, and then they got lazy. They started storing food. And then when you store food, you are attracting thieves. People steal food. And then those who steal tell lies. They say, no, I didn't steal. And then they get punished. But who is going to punish them? So this early primordial man, they elected a leader. They appointed the first ruler, the first king, to punish criminals. So that's how you might say the social system started, right, in many ways. So that's more or less where we stopped last week, right? So we have the first king, so to speak. Of course, the story is a little oversimplified. The actual evolution of human society is much more complicated and much more slow. But the general idea, general trend is there. But we must also remember the Buddha is not trying to tell a scientific story about how the world began or how society began. The Buddha is actually pulling our legs. He's pulling the monks' legs, if you like. In fact, you find in this Aganya Sutta, there are lots of hints to the monks not to break their rules. So the Buddha put all these rule-breaking acts into a story which sounds very ludicrous, very, very funny, very stupid, in fact. For example, using a finger to taste food, the monks are supposed to carefully use their hands to scoop the food and keep the mouth closed until the food touches the mouth, and mindfully open, then swallow the food, chewing the food and swallow, and so on. Of course, nowadays monks use spoons and so on. So the point here is it is a story to educate the monks, reminding them, keeping the rules. It is also social comment. Remember how the story started? There was these two young Brahmins who are becoming Buddhist monks. They are on probation, and the other Brahmins were kind of scolding them and telling them how stupid they are, to become monks. So the Buddha is saying these Brahmins have forgotten the past. And the Buddha, in great humor, really takes us into the past, right from the beginning of time, how human beings evolve, society evolve, just to show us the second part, what we're going to study today. Okay, so in a sense, the second part is the important part. It may not be the most exciting part, if you like, but the first part prepares us for the second part. So what the Buddha is saying, look, you have this long history of, how mankind evolved, and then you have this first king, and then let's see how human society became stratified, how people did jobs and so on, and this is a natural situation. Then the Brahmins came along and changed things for their benefit, for their selfish benefit. So here the Buddha is making a very grand statement. And in India, if you want to really teach the people, you've got to tell stories. And they love stories, even today. So this is a very grand story. And this is found in the Digha Nikaya. This is D27, right? So the Digha Nikaya have long, elaborate, fantastic stories. The kind of stories we value in literature, right? Of course, it can be tough reading, because it's a long stories, right? But those who love reading have no problem. They really enjoy this kind of stories. But for us as practicing Buddhists, there are interesting things here that we want to learn also. All right, let's look at the continuation of the story, page 160, the first king, section 20. Then Vasita and Bharadwaja, the beings came together and lamented. Everything, evil things have appeared among us beings, that is to say, stealing has appeared, censure has appeared, lying has appeared, punishment has appeared. Right? So this is paradise lost, if you like. What now if we appoint a certain being who would reprimand or who would punish, who would ostracize all these bad guys, and then we will provide him with a portion of rice. So this is the first employment, if you like, first office, a kind of exchange. Someone works and gets rice in return. Not money. Money is not invented yet at this time. They get something in exchange. Right, so they chose the handsomest, the best looking, the most pleasant, the most capable, and said to him, can you be our leader? See that justice is done. All right. So this is the first kind of election. So here you can see the qualities that the Buddha is saying. If you want to be elected, what should you have? Number one, look good, look handsome. Number two, look good, okay, good looking. And then be pleasant to people, be very nice to them. And make sure you're capable. The last one is the most important, okay? Right, so they found this great elect, Mahasamatha, is the first king. Now what's interesting here is he's the first king, and many of the ancient kings of India, royalty of India, they claim ancestry right to this first king, even the Buddha's family. So they kind of treat it like history also. So you find this is one very common kind of idea, tradition in Indian literature, Indian ancient literature, right? Now then society begin to evolve in earnest. So what the Buddha is doing, he's trying to show to Vasita and Bharadwaja at the same time what is happening here. Even if these two young probationers are listening, they memorize what the Buddha has taught. And it could be there are other monks nearby listening also, right? I mean, if you are a monk who is a disciple of the Buddha, you'll be very curious what he's going to teach. So the moment he starts talking, you probably will quickly come around, quietly follow him and listen. So they're all listening to what the Buddha is saying. That's how we got this text. So the Buddha is now going to tell us how society, social strata, social groups, if you like, started. Okay? Look at 21. He is appointed or agreed to by the people. Okay? Pali is Mahajanena Samata. Sam means together, mata means to think, to agree to. Okay? In fact, you translate directly into English is con, sam is con, mata is senses, something that we know through the senses. Okay? Okay, so he is appointed or agreed to by the people. Vasita, there, and Bharadwaja, therefore he is called the great elect. So it's called Mahasamatha. Right? That's the title. All right? So this is the first name that arose. So here we're talking about first time everything arose. No? So it's a kind of very interesting story. Okay? Now comes the next group. Okay, first you have only the one who is the ruler, right? So the next one is the class. They are lords of the fields. Ketanang pati. Okay, pati means lord. Pati, né? And then keta means field. Okay, field for planting. Yeah? So the lords of the field. Therefore, they are called Khattiya. In Pali is Khattiya. Keta becomes Khattiya. Okay, so you can see the word Khattiya. There is Keta there. One who has fields. So originally, the name of the Khattiyas, they were agriculturalists. They had land. They were powerful because they had land. In Sanskrit, it's kshatriya. Okay, and this word has gone into Malay. It's called satriya. Right. So you got satriya, mangku nagara, and so on. Eh? Satriya means noble warrior. Okay. So kshatriya was the second name that arose. Okay. So of course here, in the Buddha's time in India, at that time the kshatriyas were becoming very powerful. So they were slowly edging off the Brahmins into the west, towards the west. So the central Gangetic Plain, the richest area of India where the great empire started, is also the most urbanized, the richest. It is, you can say, the beginning of modern Indian civilization started there. The first civilization, the first urbanization was in Mohenjo-daro. But for some strange reason, that place near the Indus Valley just died up, just disappeared. Nobody knows why. And all the people seem to migrate to northern central India, the Ganges basin, okay, where the Buddha lived. That's called the Holy Land. So in this central Gangetic Plain, northern central India, you have the Kshatriyas. They were the rulers. Those through Dharma, here Dharma means duties, he brings joy to others. Therefore, Vasita and Bharadwaja, he is called Raja. This is a very interesting etymology or derivation of who is a king. So here you can see the Buddha also talking a bit of politics. Ne? Who is a good king? He's a Raja. What does Raja mean? The word Raja comes from, now I have to put a Pali here. You see, you look at the Pali, Ranjati. Can you see Ranjati there? It should be somewhere there. No? Footnotes. In the footnotes, okay? Ranjati means he makes happy. So Ranjati iti Raja. Raja is one who makes happy. So you see in Pali, in Sanskrit, the word has a derivation, especially from the roots. So you get meaning from there. Okay. So the Kshatriyas are also called Rajas, or the special individuals, the leaders of the Kshatriyas are called Rajas. And then you have the Maharaja, the great one, and so on, the emperor. No? So here basically what the Buddha is saying, well, if you're a king, your task is to make people happy. So it's a very noble idea of who a king really is. So next paragraph. So this Vasita and Bharadwaja was the origin of the Kshatriya circle, the Khattiya Mandala. So something like a community, if you like. Okay, a little circle. Like we are a circle, in a sense, a group, a community, right? In accordance with a primordial. A primordial expression of the ancients, and comprising only those beings of those like them, and not otherwise, in accordance with the Dharma, and not otherwise. So in other words, these people, they live together, they work together, according to their rules. Okay, So you can see it's a very orderly society, in other words, even in the Buddha's time. Look at the last line. For Vasita and Bharadwaja, Dharma is the best for the people in this life and in the next. Okay, here Dharma is not just Buddhist teaching. Dharma means something like the social conduct, social code, kind of something that allows society to exist. So you must have that kind of code, right? So here the Buddha is talking about some kind of universal code. It says there is this code, whether you're Buddhist or Brahmin, you live according to your duties, right? You're a king, so your job is to make the people happy, right? He's getting somewhere, the Buddha is building up this very interesting argument to show that the Brahmins are very unjust by introducing all this stratified caste system, putting them at the top, telling all these stories, how they come from the mouth of God and so on. So he's going to debunk this myth, like. So this is a very grand way of debunking the myth. No one has done it so effectively as the Buddha. Now the Buddha comes to the Brahmins, okay? Section 22. The Brahmins are the priestly class. What's the big deal about priestly class? Now we're talking about people who are living long time ago, right? This is really old, even beyond the 2,500 years that the Buddha lived. Even today you find, you know why religion draws our interest? Because we know very little about it. If you know really a lot about the religion, you begin to shake your head. You say, oh no, it's not what I expected, In fact, today you look around, there's an interesting phenomenon, There are many scholars who have been great followers of their religion. For example, some of them are really devout Christians, they are, what they call it, evangelists and so on. They really studied the Bible and the holy books. Then in doing so, they begin to see everything so clearly that even the holy books are not so accurate. Lots of wrong things there. So much so that they realize they can't follow it anymore. But by the time they realize it, they're already mature adults, too late to change a course in life, and that's all they know is their religion. So what can they do? They have to work with their religion. So they become lecturers in their religion, but they tell the truth what's wrong with it. And they write really interesting books because they present all this religion in a very objective way. And this is happening to Buddhism too, But what's interesting is in the case of, well, I can't speak for the whole of Buddhism, but let me speak for them in groups, okay? Because they're different, In Mahayana Buddhism, one interesting case, at least I heard, there was this Mahayana monk, Chinese I think, who went west. They always look up to Western education, so he went through university education. And Western education is very critical. They say, oh, this is actually the story, what happened. The sixth patriarch story is just a fabrication. Somebody invented it to knock down a rival. There are two monks. The other monk's very famous, but this monk is not. So he wrote the story of the sixth patriarch to promote himself and knock down the other monk. And then there is the northern school, which are foreigners. The northern school also have got their teachings, but the northern school was cut out because they are not Chinese. So you have all these interesting intrigues. We don't know all this. We think, oh, Sixth Patriarch Sutra, wonderful, Oh, Lotus Sutra, wonderful, but we don't know the real story behind it. So these scholars tell you all this nitty-gritty darkness behind all this story. So this monk got so shocked, said, wow, is this like this? He disrobed after that. He gave up Buddhism. But that's very silly because he should be happy. Say, oh, okay, this is what it is. So now at least, I can be more open-minded. But because perhaps he had this wrong idea and that's all he thought, and that was lost. If that's all you think and that is lost, yeah, you can imagine. You really don't know what to do, But why I'm saying this is because there are many scholars today, in the last 50 years, they discovered a lot of sutras hidden in a cave in Dunhuang. Okay, so and they found a great range of suttas, also non-Buddhist texts. And the last 50 years, many scholars have been translating all this, and they've been publishing a lot of very revealing studies to show what happened. Lots of politicking and invention of Kung An and Ho To and so on, just to knock down each other, to promote their own self, not even their own school, you know. So, and then the Zen people introducing all this lineage of teachers, you know, and you find there are many schools, but the names don't coincide. The later names nearing the Buddha, they don't coincide. So we know very well they invented all these things. Because they rejected the suttas, so they got no way of authenticating themselves. So they have to follow the Confucian way. They're called the ancestral hall Buddhism. They authenticate themselves by saying, oh, you know, our teachers, and go on like that, like fathers, you know, parents. So scholars say, well, you know, this is just all are false fabrications, you know. So there are lots of this kind of truth are coming out now because of the so much learning today. So what happens to early Buddhism? A great thing about early Buddhism, because of the Buddha's wisdom, is the more you study, the clearer it gets. But there are some, the problem with some of the scholars, they don't meditate, number one. They know suttas very well, but they just know the words. They don't meditate. So they don't really know what the words mean. So there are some really excellent books. They know suttas very well, they know the words very well, and they seem to argue very clearly, but you know very well they don't meditate, because the meditator will just smile and say, it doesn't matter to me, because all these arguments are just the scholars saying one thing, Buddha said this, Buddha said that, therefore it is wrong. How do you know? It's just the conclusion, you see? Right, so my point here is, if you don't, it's not enough just to study the suttas. You have to meditate, because what you meditate will give you access to what the Buddha really experienced. What you're reading is a story. If you don't understand the words, then you get wrong understanding. But you understand the words and then you got your meditation, it works. It's just like music. It's like art. It's like archery. It's like any kind of thing that you must do properly. If you want to play music, there are books, many books. You want to travel, there are maps and books. You can read all the books on driving a car. And if you don't drive a car, it's no use reading all those books, isn't it? So same thing. If you read all the books on meditation, but you don't meditate, what's the point? If you study all the suttas, you don't meditate, or you don't practice precepts, it's not very helpful, right? You make mistakes. In fact, in the latest reflection, it's called Wrong Steps. I give an example of 3 great names. They make really great blunders because it's just scholarship. They didn't really seriously practice. But the great thing about Buddhism is we can freely talk and we can freely question one another, and we learn that way. Okay? So the Buddha is doing just that. The Buddha is saying, look, this is what's going on. All right, this is the real thing. Don't get cheated by all these stories, all this hype, as we say it, right? We want the real thing. The Buddha is against exploitation, against false teachings. The Buddha wants the people of his time, he wants us to think for ourselves, to free our minds, to live intelligently, not to allow other people to think for you. Do not to give away your remote control to someone else, to take charge of your life. That's the meaning of self-reliance. Only early Buddhism really taught about self-reliance. It's not easy, but it's definitely the safest way for us to practice and to live. Okay? So this priest is telling you, oh, give me your remote control. You don't need it. I'll do it for you. You just sit back, relax. This is what the priests are trying to do. All right, let's look at them. Section 22. Then Vasita and Bharadwaja, some of the beings thought, evil things have appeared amongst us, and all those negative things happening. So further down, next paragraph, they keep away. Can you see the bold letters? Bahenti, they keep away from evil and unwholesome things. Therefore, Vasita and Bharadwaja, they are called Brahmins. And so, Brahmin was the first name that rose for them. All right. Okay, this is a very positive image of the Brahmins. You know what the Buddha is saying. Originally, this is what the Brahmins do. If you look at the name Brahmin, it comes from Bahenti. Bahenti, plural, means keep away, abstain from doing bad. So the Buddha said, okay, you got these kings, you got these rulers and their families. The second group are the people who say, wow, look at all these bad things. Well, let us not do these bad things. Let us live a life which is pure, right? So they're called Brahmins because they Bahenti. From Bahenti you get Brahmin, okay? So what the Buddha is saying here, originally the Brahmins were good. But you look at the Brahmins today, what's going on? It's just like we as Buddhists, we say, Buddha's time, we see the great Arahats, Sariputta, Moggallana. But today, what kind of monks and nuns do we have? Something like that, yeah? All right, so next, the Buddha tells us what they did. They built or they made leaf huts in the forest abodes and meditated in them with neither coal nor smoke from a cooking fire, without pestle and mortar, you know that thing for pounding, without pestle and mortar with pestle and mortar set aside. They went into villages, towns or capitals to look for food. In the evening for evening meal, in the morning for morning meal. When they had found their food, they returned to the leaf hut in the forest abode to meditate. Wow. So this is, the Buddha loves telling this kind of stories. He says long ago, the Brahmins were very good. They were practitioners. They never cooked. So you don't see any smoke. You don't even see the thing for pounding food. Their leaf hut was only got one door, no lock. So you can't do anything more than just meditate. So they return to the leaf hut, meditate. Then in the morning they go out, look for food, and then they come back, meditate. Evening they go out, look for food, come back, meditate. So they were good people, right? So what the Buddha is saying, look, today, what's happening to them? They are becoming fat and they live big houses with many wives and children, and their lives are far from noble, you know. See how different they are today. Then people saw this and said, and then people noticed, wow, these are good people, you know. All right? And then further down, now here the Buddha is making another interesting joke. Now you won't notice unless you know Pali. This is called a Pali joke, okay? They meditate, Jayanti. Therefore, Vasita and Bharadwaja, they are called meditators, Jayi, Jayika. And so meditator was the second name that arose for them, right? So first is the Brahmin, then they are meditators. This is what they did. Now, however, Vaisata and Bharadwaja, some of the beings unable to meditate in leaf huts settle around towns and villages and compile texts. So now it's a new development. This is a religious development. Say the first group of these real holy men, the Brahmins, they meditated. They didn't do anything else, just meditate, very peaceful. Then you have this group who are amongst them, they could not meditate. So they gave up the leaf hut, they go nearer the towns and cities where there are lots of people, and they started writing holy books. That's how the first holy books were written. These are the Vedas, of course. All right. People saw them and said, okay, look, wow, these beings, they can't meditate, so they are compiling this holy text. Now comes the clincher. This is the subtle joke. They do not meditate. Na jayanti, Vasita and Bharadwaja. Therefore, they are called non-meditators. Now, this doesn't carry in English, unfortunately. That's why I got to put two words here. They are called reciters, non-meditators. The Pali word is ajayaka. Ajayaka. Okay. Ajayaka has, if you look at the dictionary today, ajayaka means reciter, one who recites, you see. But if you look carefully, there is jayaka there, right? Jayaka means meditator. And then you put a in front. A means not meditator. It also means not meditator. So the Buddha is very sharp, you know. He's saying they are reciters, yes. So in the Buddha's time, this Ajayaka is a big name, you know. If you look at the Upanishads, those holy Hindu books, no? The chapters are called Adhyaya. Adhyaya is the same word. It is Sanskrit for Ajayaka. Ajayaka in Sanskrit is Adhyayaka. Okay? So Adhyaya means recitation. Adhyayaka means reciter. Okay? So I don't know whether you see this subtle joke or not. So the Buddha said they are called Ajayaka not because they're reciters, but because they can meditate. Okay? So in fact, in other words, they are actually failures in spirituality. So they started writing down all these holy books for people to follow and control people. So these are the Brahmins. No? Then the Buddha went on to the third class, Vaisyas, section 24. Then Vasita Bharadwaja, some of the beings indulged in sexual intercourse and took up domestic occupations. They indulge in sexual intercourse and take up occupations that are prestigious. Visuta. Yeah? Therefore, they are called Vaisya. Okay? Vaisya or Vesa in Pali. Yeah? So, Vesa means merchant. So these are the businessmen. You notice businessmen also have big families. They got a lot of money, you know. So this is the business class. So here, the Buddha gave the origin of the business class. Then you come to the fourth class, 25. Then Vasita and Bharadwaja, the remaining beings, the rest, led cruel and mean lives. In other words, they kill and so on. They led cruel, mean lives. Ludachara, Kudachara. Therefore, Vasita and Bharadwaja, they are called Shudra or Sudha. So the name Shudra arose, right? So this is how the Sudra, these are the working class. Okay, of course, you might say the Buddha is a little bit overdoing things here, but showing that this is the last group in the early society who did all the dirty job, you know. So, in other words, you have four classes here. You have the ruling class, the Kshatriyas. Then you have the priestly class. They are meditators, or they are, they teach, right, texts. Then you have the business class, and you have the working class. That's all. They are divided up according to the jobs. Then the 26. So this is the next class. One new class, which is not usually mentioned, the recluse class. Now the Buddha adds this part. He's trying to show that from all these four classes, any of them can leave their class and they lead a different kind of life, like a monk, okay? Recluse. In Chinese, it's called saman, is it? Samana, yeah? Saman, okay? There came a time, Vasita Bharadwaja, when the Kshatriya disapproved of his own way of life, his Dhamma, and left the household life for homelessness, thinking, I will become a recluse. The Brahmin also things like that. He gave up the living as a Brahmin, said, I don't like this life. And then the Vaishya also said, I don't like my life, I don't like to do business. And then the Shudra also said, I don't like living all this mean life and all these dirty jobs. So they become recluse. This is the early word for monk, okay, recluse. So, and they all got together. So you notice here, very interesting, what the Buddha is saying is, all these different people from different classes, they got together with a common idea. They're all recluses, But they're all from different classes, and they're all equals. So it's a new class. Now, this is a very interesting idea in social evolution. So if you talk about social theory, there you have in Buddhism some simple idea of how society evolved in terms of jobs. And then now the Buddha comes a bit more serious. He talks about karma, 27. Bad karmic fruits are universal. Indeed, Vasata Bharadwaja, a kshatriya who does evil deeds through body, speech, or mind, and who holds wrong views, would, because of acquiring those wrong views, accrue karma as a result. In other words, if they do bad deeds, this karma will come on them. It's not something they do to each other. It naturally happens. If you do good, then this good karma will come to them. It's a natural thing, right? And this happens to all alike, no matter what class you are, whether it's a ruling class, the priestly class, the merchant class, the working class, or even the recluse class. If they behave badly, bad karma will come onto them. They do good, good karma will come to them. So that's section 28. It's on good karma. The Buddha spoke at length in detail. I'm summarizing for you. And then the Buddha talks about mixed karma. So you say, well, if you usually, people do both good and bad. So you see the working of karma in a very complicated way, and that's the way you see how some people, they're good but they suffer, some people are bad but they prosper, and so on. Then we're coming to a close now. So the Buddha said, there you are, you have these 4 classes, and these 4 classes, it's not something that you are born into, or it is because of your birth, but it's the job that you do. And at the same time, you can move out of your class and become recluses, and that's a kind of free class. And despite all this lifestyle, karma will still act on everyone alike. It's not that, the Brahmins are pure all the time. Not like that. Everyone's is kind of, had their karma. So the Buddha says, what do we do then? Look at 30. This is the closing already. The 7 limbs of awakening. So the Buddha always closes on a happy note, right? The way out. Section 30. A kshatriya Vaseta and Bharadwaja, who is restrained in body, speech, and mind by means of cultivating the 7 limbs of awakening, attains nirvana in this life. Now, okay, here you have a bit of a problem, There was no Buddhism there yet, But the Buddha said, well, they practice this, they attain nirvana. Because one way of saying this is they free themselves from suffering in some way. Or the Buddha is addressing his present time. He's saying that today, no matter what class you belong to, if you practice the 7 limbs of awakening, but here they're called 7 limbs of awakening. Usually they are called the 7 awakening factors. You can see the footnote there, footnote 1, 2, 5. You have mindfulness, Dhamma investigation, effort, zest or joy, tranquility, concentration, equanimity. These are the stages of meditation. What the Buddha is saying, no matter what class you come from, even today, if you meditate properly, you follow this sequence of 7 stages, sooner or later you attain nirvana. Whether you are Kshatriya, Brahmin, Vaisya, Sudra, or recluse. So the Buddha said, there you are. You have this king who is the foremost. So this is the foremost knowledge. Now, then the sutta closes with something I can't say I totally fully understand. It's a very interesting message. Look at 32. Vasita and Bharadwaja, the Brahma Sanang Kumara, spoke this verse. The Kshatriya is the best in this generation of those who look up to clan. The one endowed with knowledge and conduct is the best amongst gods and humans. There's a bit of class struggle here in the Buddha's time. The Kshatriyas were edging out the Brahmins, if you remember what I said, right? So here, basically the Buddha is saying that's what's going on. So of all the classes, the best is the Kshatriya. They can say that because they're the most powerful in the central northern India at that time. But at the same time, that's the world. But at the same time, the Buddha is talking about spirituality. He says, the one who has knowledge and conduct, vichacharana, who has wisdom and compassion, that is the best of people. All right? So in a sense, the Buddha is trying to please the powerful clan of his days, and at the same time also encourage people that there's a way out to practice the Dharma. All right? Then this verse, Vasita Bharadwaja, is well sung, not ill sung by Brahma Sanankumara. By the way, Sanankumara means ever young. He's one of those high Brahmas. It's well spoken, not ill spoken, endowed with meaning, not without meaning. I approve of it. I too, Vasita Bharadwaja, say thus. For those people who value class, the Kshatriyas is the best in this generation. But the one endowed with knowledge and conduct is the best amongst gods and humans. Notice here, if you keep the precepts, if you meditate, you're at peace with yourself, you do good, you are better than even the gods. You don't have to worship the gods will worship you. The gods are our neighbors. Who are the gods? Anyone here seen any gods? These are stories, you know. I suspect what they call gods in the Buddha's time, today we call aliens. Aliens. You know aliens? Living beings who live far away. And now they're coming into our movies now. We see lots of them in our movies. Star Trek and all those stories, no? I mean, look at our world. Our universe is so huge. You know, the Buddha says, just as we have our solar system, our heavens and so on, there are many other similar universes. So there, the Buddha already said, there are other beings. That's our next adventure. Very soon we have a class with people from other universes. Wow, that will be very interesting. So, and if this, I mean, they're all like us. They're also impermanent, you know. All right? I mean, imagine those days, China was one country. They think, oh, there's a mighty central kingdom, Zhongguo. The rest of the world are barbarians until the British ships came and they couldn't do anything. So too, the British thought, oh, you know, the sun never sets over our empire and so on. But then look at things today, it's changed. The world changes, you know. So when the Portuguese first Westerners came to our land, our local natives don't know what they are, never seen them before. They have beards, you know, and some of them are quite old, like Albuquerque probably had white beard. So the closest people they know having beards are the Bengalis. So they call the Portuguese white Bengalis, Bengali Putih, you know. You know, so because they never seen white man before. And then the Chinese, they call the white man red hair. Angmo. But red hair is very rare amongst the Westerners, right? So there you are. This is how we locals perceive outsiders. So one day we'll meet people. Now a new adventure is aliens from other systems. What's going to happen, we don't know. No? But hopefully we don't do stupid things and start galactic wars. So the Buddha said there are other beings. So if you do good, imagine other beings from other planets, other systems also say, wow, you know, you're great. That's the meaning here. That's why the Buddha is said to be the teachers of gods and humans. Right? Sattva Deva Manusanang. Okay? And so the sutta ends there. Right? So I hope you enjoyed and learned something from this sutta. And the timing is just perfect. Huh? Okay, shall we close now? Closing session. Huh? Any questions? Anyone want to ask? This is your last chance. We're going to have a long holiday.
I got some questions. Talk about the 7 factors of awakening a bit.
7 factors of awakening. Okay, what page is that?
Last one.
Page 164, the footnote there.
Okay, 164 at the bottom. 164, right at the bottom, note 123.
125.
What? Oh, okay, my eyesight is terrible. I have to use magnifying glass now. Now, when you study early Buddhism, one interesting thing is it is non-technical. Okay, I realized that, when I translate the suttas, I have to be non-technical. Technical means every word has a fixed meaning, but not in early Buddhism. This is where the scholars start pulling out their hair. Because the scholars, they need everything must be technical. In fact, they make things technical. Scholars are people who make things difficult for us. The good scholars are those who really help us to understand the sutta, and they also practice. There are some scholars like that, and they're really wonderful people. But you didn't make much money. Okay, so usually they do it when they have a tenure, we call it. In other words, they're sure of their job. So here is an example. You see, in the Aganya Sutta, the Buddha used the term 7 limbs of awakening. But in later teachings, the limbs of awakening refer to 37 limbs of awakening. What we know as 7 here is actually the Bojjhanga, Satta Bojjhanga. No? So you see this kind of change, migration of meanings. Right? So some people will say, oh, look, something's wrong here. Nothing's wrong. The Buddha is not a technical person. He teaches Dhamma so people understand. He uses words people understand. Of course, we're not saying that he's haphazard either. Slowly over time, the terms become more and more fixed. That happens too. So, in this sutta, you have the 7 limbs of awakening. But in the Anguttara, in the Sangyutta, Majjhima, you normally hear it as the simply awakening factors, Bojjhanga or Sambojjhanga. In other words, when we meditate, what do? The first thing you must understand and practice is mindfulness, sati. Mindfulness simply means memory. You must remember what to do. Yeah? For example, you're meditating, you watch your breath in, out, and a lot of thoughts come. If you forget, then you follow your thoughts. Oh, very nice. And there goes your meditation. So your sati, your mindfulness says, okay, these are thoughts. So you stop your meditation, you label thoughts, thinking, you let go of it. Or you focus your mind on the breath, in, out. That's mindfulness. Mindfulness, you keep your mind in the right place. You keep your mind focused. In other words, you let go of the 5 senses. You keep your mind as like a magnifying glass. You're looking at whatever object you are meditating. Focus mind. Simple word is focus mind. Now, to keep your mind focused, when your mind is focused, you notice things. You begin to notice your mind. Your mind changes, things changes. You notice feelings, you notice thoughts, right? So, Dhamma investigation. Dhamma here means, there's different meaning Dhamma here. It means things, mental objects, mind objects, things that happen in your mind, called Dhamma. So what are the things that happen in your mind? When you start meditating, you notice there are thoughts, you notice there are sounds, you notice there are feelings. What is this? You observe. Or it's just sound. It is just thoughts. And then next, what do? Impermanent, like that. So there are many ways of dealing with this. All right? So this is called Dhamma investigation. Second way, you use the mindfulness to watch what's going on in your mind. This is before deep meditation, so your mind is still thinking, watching. Now when you do that, you say, oh, that's all there is. Very peaceful, very nice. Third effort, right? You keep on doing that. You don't give up, okay? That's what meditation is. Very easy. You just sit down, your mind wanders, bring it back. Your mind wanders, bring it back, like that. Don't say, oh, you're very hard. You say, are you very hard? Then your mind says, are you very hard? So you say, I like this. And the mind says, okay, So remember what you say in meditation. That's going to affect you. That's why we say only positive things in meditation. We smile in meditation. So in that sense, very easy. I mean, you don't have to sit like straight away 1 hour. Just sit for 5 minutes. You're very peaceful, and you remember the peacefulness. That will help you as a seed to expand that peacefulness inside you. Meditation is an investment that always pays dividends because of impermanence, because we age. The older we grow, the more time we have, the less physical exercise we can do. So the more mental exercise we need to do. Otherwise, all kinds of funny things will happen to us. Our mind is like an island, small little island. Lots of trees when we are young. Wow, beautiful trees, and lots of shade, lots of fruits and food. But as we grow old, the trees die. And in some cases, if the ground is not good, there are very few trees, maybe only one tree left. Then that's called dementia. Dementia is when your spark plugs, no more sparks, and it cannot repair itself already because you didn't make use of your mind. Some people think, wow, retirement is a great thing. I say, yes, I'm waiting for my retirement, I've saved a few million, and then happy, retirement day has come. And then suddenly they found retirement, no more friends already, no more routine, get up, don't know what to do. Everything is different, so boring. And I think I once said, if you live that kind of life, at the most you have 7 more years to go. You must keep your mind active. For monks, for Dhamma workers like us, there's no holiday, no retirement. We go on working until the last breath, as long as we can. That's the only meaningful life. Because to do nothing is the worst thing in life. When you do nothing, there's a saying in English, the idle mind breeds the devil. The meaning is, if you don't do something, your mind goes crazy. Your mind stops working. It's like the body, like you don't exercise, you don't feel so well. Mental exercise, of course, you talk to people, you do things, right? But the easiest is meditation. Well, some people say it's the hardest meditation, but easiest in the sense that you don't need anybody, you just sit quietly. And the Buddha was 80 years old. He says, my mind is as clear as always, no problem. Of course, the Buddha is amazing. So remember, this is what meditation does for us. This effort, you keep on doing it, your mind becomes clear. Okay. I met some of my old friends when I went to KL this time. They really look old friends. They were so stressed and walking with a stick and so on, and just 1 year younger than me, And then, how come you look younger? He says, well, I say, you practice the Dharma, lots of meditation, you don't get stressed, So meditation keeps you healthy. All right? The most important thing is keep your mind healthy. So that is effort. Zest, joy. We all take food. We're going to have nice food after this, but you must eat with joy. And the great thing is you all brought this food with joy. That's the wonderful thing. If you see, you go to a hawker who's fighting and scolding, don't go there. Unhealthy food. You see, you want happy, smiling hawkers. So that's why the 3 purities of giving. Before giving, you prepare it happily. While giving, you give happily. After giving, also you're happy. That's the Buddhist way. Okay? Zest, joy. Without joy, your mind is going to suffer. Right? So, I'm very happy when I teach Dhamma. I'm even more happy when... Yes, I'm very happy when the class ends. Finish, very happy.
Teacher, then if you meditate, then you seem to get pain, aches, stiffness. Then we tell that, okay, this pain, address the pain and yes. Let go of pain. But then, the pain never gets away. So we have to move.
Sure.
During that movement, then we say that moving, that kind of mindfulness.
Yes, yes.
I'm quite confused by, then which part is the meditation?
That is the meditation. Whatever you're doing, one thing at a time. Yeah, I mean, your body is in pain, so you watch the pain. That's called mindfulness. Because you have not gone into the state of deep peace yet. You are getting ready. So you got to learn all these things. Like a baby, how the baby walks. Baby fall and cries, and then you stand up again. Never give up. like that. So you must be wise and say, okay, how shall I sit properly? Get lots of cushions. You see in the West, wow, I tell you, meditation cushion in the West is a big industry now. Got all kinds of shapes, V shape and round and square to support the legs. So you find a chair to sit and get some cushions or whatever. So find a way of sitting where you don't have to move so much or you won't be in pain. Okay?
Isn't that a part of like comfort assisted? I thought we are.
No, the idea is
to get rid of all this stuff.
Yeah, but how else can you get rid of it? You see, so unless you start very young and you learn to sit on the floor like the Indians do in India, they go to the jungle, just sit down. They're used to it. See, like in Thailand, everybody sit with their legs pushed back. Wow, it's not easy at first, So they've been doing that since they're children. So their limbs are adjusted, their whole anatomy adjusts to it. That's cultural. So here you got to deal with this.
Not to endure the pain, because some
no, I wouldn't.
Me, hey, you get gangrene after that.
Yes. No, I wouldn't advise you to endure the pain. In fact, the Buddha tried that; it didn't work. So remember, in the meditation, I always tell you, first few minutes, make sure you sit properly. Very important. So adjust your sitting. So if you have to use a chair, use a chair. Enlightenment, awakening doesn't depend on cross-legged, It can be Ananda, remember. None of the 4 postures, standing, walking, sitting, lying down, none of it. He was awakened through none of these 4 postures. Okay? So deal with the postures. Pain, or moving, whatever. Then once you are peaceful, then continue. Okay? Alright, so this joy arises. And when you feel joyful, you can do a lot of things. Your meditation improves. You feel so good, you feel happy. The next thing is tranquility. When you feel very happy, your mind becomes peaceful. Very peaceful. Alright? This is the next stage. Tranquility. That means the body is comfortable, peaceful, no pain. Because you don't think about the body anymore. Okay? And then there is focus. That means the mind. Concentration refers to the mind. Very focused, very clear, very calm. And when the mind is focused, there is equanimity. That's the last stage. That means the mind is totally peaceful. Equanimity, right? And that's when you come out of the meditation. Wow, the mind is very clear. You can think very well. There are occasions when, like the latest sutta, I have three suttas, 3 chapters. Each chapter got 2 suttas. At first, I arranged sutta A, sutta B. Then I said, it's not AB, it should be BA. So I have to rearrange everything, BA. And there are 6 of them, so I have to change everything systematically 6 times. Then after that, I have to compare all the 6 suttas together and then write an introduction. All right? And then here comes my cat sitting right in front of me. I can't see my screen. So I got to tell the cat, sit down. Luckily, he'll understand that one command. So then he will go down. Yeah. So then I said, oh dear, I don't think I can go on anymore. I'm getting sleepy. But then the part of the mind said, no, do some more. But you can't, So you rest. It says, okay, I take my rest. I sleep. Then next morning I get up. I can continue. So you feel fresh next morning. Because if you continue when you're tired, you make mistakes. So that's how you work with joy. You just do what needs to be done. And you look at what's in front of you. So your mind is calm and peaceful. Okay?
Push it.
Yeah, you try to push, yes. But you must know when to stop. That's the thing. You must know when to stop. Precepts means you know when to stop. All right? Okay, so there you are. Those are the 7 awakening factors. Okay, any other questions?
Yeah.
Yes.
Follow up to Donnie's question.
Yeah.
That when you have a meditation, the pain and all that, so you adjust. Would it not be right to say that to begin with, the more relaxed you are, the better?
Oh, definitely.
The more relaxed.
Yes.
The lesser of the pain.
Yeah. So
always the moment you sit down here, everything not relaxing.
then you yeah. So you.
When I sit meditation, I will relax now. I can sit 1 hour. We have focus, very focused.
No pain.
No, then you must choose a suitable place. Look for a suitable place. maybe an open air garden. Sometimes open air is better. Okay, so you experiment, see where you somehow feel very good with the environment. There are some places we say the vibration is not not proper, not good. So you move around and see how. Yeah, and then also notice what you eat, what you drink. Sometimes you drink too much coffee or tea, or so can affect yourself. So notice all this now. But from what I understand, tea usually helps because there's a story. Drinking tea actually started with meditation in China, in Korea, because it's very cold, so they drink warm tea. So you got to notice your life. How do you adjust yourself to sit properly? Yeah?
There was once, I don't know whether is it correct, because sometimes you just sit down and then suddenly the moment you get out, you realize that wow, time passes fast.
Yes. Yeah, that's another thing. Don't worry about how long you sit. All right.
Sometimes you just sit down. You thought it's so long, but you open the eyes. Oh, 5 minutes.
Yes. Yeah, it's better to sit for just 5 minutes than struggle for 20 minutes, but nothing happens. Nothing useful happens. So just do a bit here, a bit there, a bit here, a bit there, like that. Whenever you feel like it. Yeah. The best time to meditate is when you start feeling trouble. Your mind is not easy. Then tell yourself, okay, let me breathe out all these things, and just sit down, just focus on your breath, just a few minutes, see what happens, or do metta, just a few sentences, see what happens, like that. So you know how to apply it at different times, even in your daily life. So these are some different techniques. Okay, shall we spend a quiet moment together to close this very wonderful occasion that we have gathered together. We have completed our study of the Aganya Sutta, very long and important, interesting sutta. We have sat down together and observed the precepts, moral virtue training. Then we have reflected on the qualities of the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha, a kind of reflection. And we have listened to the suttas. This is training in wisdom. These are all the 3 trainings in essence. So we have done something really wonderful. Remember this very wonderful sacred moment in our life. When you have difficulty, just before your meditation, just remember this moment of peace, when you kept the precepts, when you reflected on the 3 jewels, and when you cultivated wisdom. Then you feel peaceful. It's a good way to start your meditation. By such goodness, by the power of the 3 jewels, may we be blessed with a calm mind, with good health, and quick understanding of whatever good that we study, especially in the suttas. And may we be blessed with courage and wisdom to aspire to at least stream winning in this life itself. By all this goodness, by the power of the 3 jewels too, may our loved ones, may our family, relatives and friends be well and happy too. May our enemies too be well and happy, so that they think of us with joy and in turn become our friends. And today let us remember, let us share our loving kindness, radiate our loving kindness to Mr. Te Hui Meng, who is undergoing chemo, father of Sister Lily Te, that he quickly recovers so that he's well and happy and be able to listen to the Dhamma in his own way, live happily with his family. And also now we send out our loving kindness to all those practitioners and teachers. May they be well and happy and see the true teaching and awakening in this life itself. And may those who are lost and those who have difficulties with the true teaching, may they too see the true path in this life itself. May all beings be well and happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.